2024, what a year it has been. And I wanted to share with you some insights and lessons and mistakes that I've made over the year, and I think might be useful for you as well. One thing that keeps coming back every time I do one of these annual reflections is Goodhart's law. This is the idea that when the target becomes a metric, it ceases to become an adequate metric. Basically, if you say, I want to lose weight at all costs, and you just focus doggedly on that, you'd end up like cutting off a leg because that's the most effective way to lose weight. So you've got to get very clear about what is the thing I'm actually trying to achieve, rather than am I just trying to achieve this kind of marker or symbol of that thing, because then you end up gaming it and not achieving the real result that you're looking for, which ultimately is happiness. We are the ones that move the goalposts every time. Our whole life is chasing happiness and looking for something. And so what we do is we set up all these games to achieve that thing, and then I'll be happy. And then, oh, okay, I've achieved that thing, and now it shifts to something else. And even if it's the same thing, you might just keep extending the goalpost. Money is the big one. If you've seen anything from Andrew Wilkinson recently, talking about how, as a billionaire, when he speaks to his high net worth friends, even the ones who are worth 200 million, 300 million, you ask them, how much would you need to feel safe? And it's always 2 or 3 times what they're currently worth. So desire is a contract that we make with ourselves to be unhappy until we achieve the thing. Butchered version of a Naval quote there. But ultimately, we have to recognize that we are playing this game and we're always doing it. And it's fine to play the game, it's fine to set goals, but to ever drink the Kool-Aid and fall for the trick that if I achieve this goal, that's the one that's going to make me happy, just keeps you on that treadmill. We usually defer gratification for the domain in life that we're most deficient in at the time. The way that I see the world, the way that I see goals, is through the goals framework that you've probably seen on our channel: body, being, balance, and business. Body, health and physique; being, spiritual goals; balance, relationship goals; and business is career and money and business. So usually we have one of those things, one of those 4, that is the biggest alligator in the boat, or that we're most deficient in. You might feel like you are single and you really need to find a girlfriend, and then that becomes the entire focus. Or you're skint, and then that becomes the only thing you can think of is, I need some money. Or you haven't got enough time, or you're feeling spiritually disconnected, or you're out of shape, and if only I could lose a bit of weight and gain an inch on my arms, then everything would be fine. We're the ones that move that goalpost. The weird thing is, the most accessible one right now is health. For most people, if you are healthy, you're lucky enough not to have chronic diseases or injuries or things that stop you from doing this. You could train consistently for a year and be in the top 10% of physiques. You could be in great health. You could improve your physical, your mental, your emotional health. You could spend time with friends and family and spend time walking in the sun. Like, all these things are immediately accessible and free and are the most wholesome sources of happiness and fulfillment. But what we do is we go, oh, no, that stuff's boring. No, I want to make $1 million, or I want to set up a SaaS company. I want to make this amount per month doing this or whatever. Again, what that's doing is creating a contract with yourself to not be happy until you achieve that thing. Usually, if it's an income goal or a wealth goal, you're chasing that so that you can be free to do what? Spend time with friends, train, walk in the sun, stuff that you have immediately accessible right now. If you get into this loop, if you've consumed too much hustle porn, have a look at a book called How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. And what he says in the book is that this is a book about how to get rich, but I am sat here at the age of 83 and I would swap places with you in an instant, because you have the one thing that I don't, which is time. All I want to do now is sit in a wood cabin in the forest and write poetry. And I could have done that when I was 30, rather than go through all this stressful time to make hundreds of millions and realize that I just kind of wanted to go full circle. It's the midwit meme all over again. So he has a very grim view on all of this, and sometimes it takes having to see it from someone who's completed a particular game for them to be like, look mate, I'm telling you, it's not worth it. Anyway, this is all lesson number 1. Goodhart's law. We are the ones that move the goalposts. All suffering is caused by the mind. We are the ones that set the parameters for our own suffering. Of course, there are horrors in the world, there are external sources of suffering, but so much of the daily grind that we expose ourselves to is caused by us. I don't know about you, but a lot of these insights, like all suffering is caused by the mind, are stuff that you intellectually understand, and then each year something clicks and they spiral into a new level of understanding. We think that we understand, we think that we get that all suffering is caused by the mind, but our actions don't align with that. I'm even doing a video about this thing right now, but I know that my daily actions are not aligned with truly understanding that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be working right now. I wouldn't be looking for something out there. It's part of the human brain's hardware that we look for something outside of ourselves. When you meditate, you slowly get glimpses into this truth, and you start to undo the system code of the human brain until it fully gets at a visceral level that this is true. I fell off the wagon with meditating earlier this year. For the last 2 months, I've been 30 minutes a day without fail. And the thing that I'm slowly starting to see is that the brain just makes anxious, dissatisfied noises. That's the job of the brain. It's a radar on the lookout for danger, threats, things that need to be solved. It's basically a problem-seeking machine. The kind of emotional tone of the noises is just the brain doing brain things. But what we do is we join the dots and go, oh, well, I need to go and solve that problem out there to be able to stop that voice inside. It's the other way around. So you deal with the tendency first. The feeling comes up first, and then the brain tries to rationalize the feeling into a set of words and language, which is really just technology that we've made to try and make sense of these feelings that go on inside us. We convert that into a desire and into an action that has to be done out there. If instead you were to recognize that the stuff going on here is just sensation and it's never going to stop and it's always just things going on, and you don't assign it too much meaning or too much weight, eventually they kind of settle down on their own. And then you realize that your natural state is satisfaction, happiness, peace, fulfillment. Again, the spiral realization you've probably seen on an Instagram motivational post. You are the thing that you seek. And you go, oh yeah, that sounds cool. But the deepest insight that you can get from meditation, and this is not coming from me, this is just from the masters who have completed that game and come away from it, as opposed to the guys who have completed different games, they come back and they say, this is the game you want to play. You want to put all your chips on the table because this is so worth it. This is the ultimate source of happiness and undoing all kind of suffering. They all say that your natural state is the ultimate sense of fulfillment, and that the game of life is just playing games to try and run away from that or seek it out there when it's just here all along. The best analogy I've heard for that is the lighthouse, that you're looking around and you can shine light on things and you go, oh, there's light over there. And you go and chase that thing. And then you move the light somewhere else, and, oh, that's over there. All you're seeing is the reflection of the light that's coming from you. But the problem is that as a lighthouse, you aren't able to turn the light back to yourself and see that you are the source of it all. That musing on Goodhart's law and moving the goalposts brings me on to the second point, which is that we tell ourselves stories about how we're living our lives and what our goals are. And quite often what people say is their goal isn't really the goal. The best way to see that clearly is look at what are someone's actions versus what they say. George, good friend of mine, bought me a book recently about Adler, and the main idea is that as one of Freud's contemporaries, he had a different view, which is that Freud would say that past trauma produces current behavior. Adler would say future goals impact current behavior. So there's a difference here, that as opposed to this thing happened to me when I was a child and therefore this is how I am right now. Instead, it's, I want to achieve this thing, and so I'm going to change who I am and how I feel and how I behave in order to achieve that thing. An example would be the person who makes themselves repulsive to other people. And that allows them to say, everyone's rejecting me, no one likes me, etc. But really the goal there is to be safe. And it means that they can reject themselves before anyone else can reject them. So they adopt a certain costume to be able to remain safe. As a business coach, business mentor, whatever you want to call it, over this year, we have been working really hard on bringing up the guardrails to make the program as foolproof as possible. Like, you have to really be actively trying to fail to not get results on the program. It's basically a plug and play business now. And what do we still find? There are people who sign up and they don't log in. And we're like, what's going on? Like, they've paid a lot of money to just not log into a program and not get the result. And you're like, of course, like, if you keep removing barriers to success and make something as easy as possible, what happens? Suddenly, you're backed into a corner because the only thing standing in the way between you and your goal is you. Suddenly, there's no excuse of technology or roadmap or accountability or any of the stuff that you previously would have had in the way of, like, oh yeah, one day I'll do that thing, but I can't because excuse. Someone gets rid of all the excuses, that throws you into the shame cave, because now you're the only one who is in the way. GPT, absolutely everywhere. You can use ChatGPT on your phone, on your laptop, to get access to essentially infinite intelligence. Any answer for anything is available. And what it's doing is, again, it's firmly pointing the finger at you as being the bottleneck. We thought, oh, the AI revolution's coming, it's going to steal all our jobs and stuff. Problem is, people are still inherently lazy and people will still drop to the path of least resistance. Even with unfettered access to calculation models and summarization models and fine-tuning and image generation and infinite access to wisdom, it couldn't be easier. And yet people haven't really fundamentally changed. So it's all pointing to us as the problem. We've got all the access to all the information, but we're still not executing. We are the ones that are driving with the brakes on. We've got internal coding and conditioning that is stopping us from achieving our goals because of these hidden beliefs and hidden payoffs that are driving how we behave. So the solution is deconstruct that, meditate, apply the Sedona method, do stuff that will uncover those patterns that are driving us and stopping us from achieving our goals, while still playing the game, but realizing that it's never going to be the ultimate source of happiness. Luckily, doing those practices reveals both at the same time, which is pretty cool. Okay, to wrap things up, a couple of life hacks for you, a fail of the year, and a mental model. So, life hack, whenever you hear a siren or an ambulance going past, it's a great gratitude trigger. I've been finding that when I wake up, I hear sirens outside. I used to be like, so annoying or whatever, I'm trying to sleep. But then flipping the script and being like, I'm here in a warm bed while somebody is driving an ambulance and somebody is in the back of the ambulance. Like, they are having a crap morning. So there's a fun perspective shift of, it could be me in that ambulance, and it's not. And once you start looking for those little gratitude triggers, they pop up everywhere. You know, you see someone, you encounter someone in the coffee shop or security in a shop or whatever who's just being a bit of a... And then you're like, they're having a miserable day. I'm out here on a Tuesday afternoon buying some pastries, and this guy is at work and hating his life. Like, there's the gratitude trigger, and gives you more compassion as well, rather than seeing everything as an affront. Second hack, I've been spending a lot of time at my desk recently. The workload this year has tipped over a threshold, and a lot of that is Telegram communication with clients and with the team. I realized that one way to hit two birds with one stone and constrain the time that I'm spending on kind of communication apps is to only send voice notes or listen to voice notes while I'm out walking. Then you get your steps in and you're able to go outside, break up the day, and it's a great way to get the juices flowing as well. So only do voice notes while walking. How does this apply to you? You can literally take that tip, or you can look at the principle of, how do I make this thing that I have to do that's unpleasant more fun by pegging it to something which is more fun? Alex laughing at pegging there. If there's an audiobook that you're really enjoying, peg it to your cardio or to your commute or whatever. And you could even just paste in a whole bunch of the stuff that you have to do in the day that you hate doing into GPT, and then say, hey, how can I make these things more fun, more pleasurable by bundling them into something that is enjoyable? And there's loads of easy wins for that. But yeah, the big one is just to get yourself a pair of cheap AirPod type things. Honestly, I'm not convinced by the Apple ones anymore. Alex giving me the thumbs down, but imagine having a low anxiety, 20 quid, 30 quid pair of earphones that if you lose them, it's no problem, and noise cancelling. Alex just like, yeah, there we go. Fail of the year.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine.
I was talking to a 17-year-old labourer the other day who was impressively open to taking advice from his wise elders. And he said, what is it that when you were 17 you wish you'd done? For me, I was like, it's easily not investing earlier. That is the thing which takes very little effort when you're younger and compounds to ridiculous levels. And really the big function in that is time. If you just invest early, no matter what the squiggles of the market are, the ups and downs, doesn't matter. Because over a 20-year, a 30-year period, all of that smooths out and the force of compound interest becomes ridiculous. What's even more stupid is that I used to work for BlackRock. Like, I've got no excuse. And I was always thinking, oh, you know what? The 2008 crash, and then there was the 2012, 2013 crash. It's because I was trying to time the market. I was thinking, oh, well, the next equities crash is probably imminent. I better hold out. I better not enter the market until the next one, and then I can just get... Didn't happen. Look at the markets. Look at the S&P. We'll show you an overlay. Look at the S&P from 2013 onwards. There hasn't been a smooth, easy entry point. Like, yeah, COVID a little bit, but by being pessimistic and expecting a crash, like Michael Burry, who's predicted 19 of the last 3 crashes, by trying to predict a crash, you miss out on all of the returns. You might be thinking, but what do I invest in? How do I do it? And so on. Luckily, dollar cost averaging into an index fund is like the ultimate life hack, because an index is a pre-selected, automatically adjusting package of the top performing shares. You don't have to be Warren Buffett to know the ins and outs of that stuff. And dollar cost averaging just means you put in, say, £100 every month for 10 years. You then don't have to worry about timing of the market, because when the market's down, your £100 goes a bit further. When it's up, you get less for your money. And so you smooth out the curve, you get a slight advantage over the ups and downs of the market, and you can just let it run its course. Plus, as opposed to something like day trading, which is really like anxiety provoking and you're drawn into the emotional turmoil of every up and down. It's just something that's running in the background, and then 10, 20 years later, you're sat on a big pot. So there is my fail for the year, and I'm going to leave you with this mental model. When you're looking to solve a problem, think in terms of, what can I remove? Is there anything that I'm already doing that could solve this problem? Do I just need to do it better? Do I just need to do it more efficiently? Rather than adding more stuff. So, for example, I'm already meditating. Rather than looking for a red light device and a transcranial stimulator and a vagus nerve stimulation, all this kind of stuff, how can I just meditate better in that time? How can I get more out of that 30 minutes that I'm already doing? I'm already exercising. How can I get better results? Do I need to add more training days? Do I need to add steroids? Do I need to add supplements? Or could I just get more out of the same 3 sessions I'm doing every week? Could I shorten my rest periods? Could I just focus on just lifting a bit harder? Look around any gym and you see people who just clearly aren't trying very hard, and they're just there to kind of show up and just go through the motions. Easy wins for them. Sleep habits. How can you sleep harder rather than just sleep more? Same thing with apps. I had to deprogram myself from what app can I add into my workflow to fix this and this and this. Instead, it's like thinking, hang on, I'm already using TickTick. I'm already using Alfred. I haven't explored the full feature set of these things. And quite often you go, oh, actually, like if I just do a bit of digging, the current stack of software I'm already using can achieve this thing. And then you have fewer moving parts, your life is simpler, you're able to get more out of less. So with physical stuff, with software, explore the full feature set of what you already have in your life and how can you make fuller use of that. We often work with clients who are using 5 different bits of software to run their business, and they're looking to add a 6th or a 7th to fit this particular feature or use case. Now look at the software they're using and it's like, you realize that this and this already do the same thing you're asking for, and you're thinking about adding in a 6th one. Like, trim things down and make your life easier. So there is an assortment of lessons, fails, insights from this year. I hope you've enjoyed it, something a bit different. And I would love to hear what you've learned this year, any fails, any lessons, anything that you'd like to share. Please post it in the comments below and I will get back to you. In the meantime, watch this.